When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Running a business means I wear lots of hats. Luckily, when it's time to put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn to make it easy. I can post a job for free or pay to promote it and get 3 times more qualified candidates. Imagine finding your next great hire in 24 hours. 86% of small businesses do. With LinkedIn, I can also easily share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. As you are listening to this episode, I am in between trips. I came back from Copenhagen, now I'm on my way to Japan. This time it's going to be for a long vacation, so we are pre-recording this episode, but I've got you covered with our annual Game Discovery episode. That is right, it is our annual eShop Gems of the Year episode, which happens right around this time during the holiday season each and every year. And there is nobody better at running down the best indies and hidden gems of the year than my guest today. She is a former Game Informer editor and the founder of the Indie Informer. It's Jill Grodt. Jill, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Hello, everyone. I love getting that intro. It just feels so like real and like you're hyping me up. Considering the fact that we just discussed perhaps killing you like 2 seconds before we recorded.
Yes, we've already started off things with the bang before the mics were even on.
The energy's hot, y'all.
Yes, we are coming in scorching on this episode. But yeah, Jill, it's been a while since you've been on the show. Was the last time you were on the show the episode when Game Informer was closed and everybody was fired?
100%. And we didn't know it. So we were all like happy and joyous. And like, I think you had to put something at the end or at the beginning being like, we did not know when we recorded this.
Well, because the episode goes live Friday afternoon, we recorded Thursday evening, and then I took that Friday off and went out for coffee with our production director, Margaret Andrews, and then we get the HR email saying mandatory meeting, and we're like, uh-oh. I bet I know what that is. But also, that was right around the time that I had gotten back from Japan. This time, we're recording this just before I go to Japan, so hopefully there's no correlation there.
Yeah, no. You've been to Japan so many times, Shay. It's fine. We're all going to be okay. Knock on wood, just in case.
But Jill, if something does go down related to Game Informer, know that it is 100% your curse at this point.
My fault. 100%.
You will take accountability for that.
Just so more people go to the Indie Informer. Yeah.
Just knocking off the Game Informer community once and for all.
One by one. I just show up at like Marcus Stewart's house. It's like, you know what time it is. And we start fighting. That'd be amazing, by the way.
He just ends up unemployed. What a weird end to a fight. All right. Well, we're off to a great start once again. Jill, over the last few years, you've appeared on this show to deliver your hidden eShop gems of that given year.
Yep.
And I will say over the last few years, we as in the gaming community on social media have gotten into some spirited debates about what is and isn't actually indie.
Oh, no.
And I think most of the discourse stems from the Game Awards indie categorization, which, they've included things like Dave the Diver and Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which, kind of in gray areas, I would say. But it used to be like pretty clearly defined back in the days of like Xbox Live Arcade and WiiWare and like the early days of like the indie boom. But at this point, like, how do you decide what you consider indie?
Oh, okay. There are 2 things I want to focus on there. I want to go on what you've just said when it was early on and easy to tell what was indie and what wasn't. Because indies are becoming so popular, and that's amazing, by the way. This year has been amazing. Next year is going to be amazing. We're going to talk about so many good games. I mean, I sent you a list that has 40 plus games on it. We're not going to talk about all of them, I don't think. But because there are very specific things that are kind of interweaving to allow an indie game to get into the mainstream, to get people's attention, to become hugely successful. people see this and now say, I want to make that kind of money. I'm going to make this a business plan to make it indie. So it becomes more important to kind of define an indie game in a way, and it becomes more difficult because you have these big companies who are coming in and trying to replicate like an indie, and not being technically indie, which does go to a topic of conversation I have on a podcast that I share with a lot of indie people called the Indie Council. We have this discussion, I swear, every other month of what is an indie game, because there's no definition. It is like, what is art? Throwback to very long ago with the Game Informer show with their art segment. It is really hard to define because there is no specific. Now, there are some like categories that people usually kind of throw in there. So an indie game has to be made by a company or a person that has its own independent creative control. I think that's usually a part of it, a criteria that's included. Another one usually includes size. People will throw in there. Some people will throw in money. Some people
Like
will
funding
throw in,
sources.
yeah, where the money comes from. People will throw in the vibe. Is a lot of times like the vibe is a big part. Like if all things considered, the vibe does tend to be very important.
Mm-hmm.
For me in particular, I have an unusual, maybe unusual, I don't know, idea of the first and foremost, the creative control has to be there. I think that's the number one thing. I don't mind terribly a lot of the time where the money comes from, as long as it doesn't come with the kind of overarching strings that a big company might do. So like you mentioned Clair Obscur. I do count this as an indie because the money is coming without the like understanding that we control your product now. So that's fine for me. Whereas something like Baldur's Gate 3, Wizards of the Coast, very known for keeping its IP very, very controlled. So you could not have done whatever you wanted in that game. So it is a real like case by case basis on what is an indie game, and it continues to shift accordingly. So it's really, really hard to give like a definitive, this is an indie game. A lot of the times when you see an indie game, you know it. It's like, you have to have discussions on these gray indies, but if you have a game that's like someone slaved away in their garage for 2 years or something, but I don't love that being a definition, because it is fascinating what some people will stop considering indie. Like I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, Hades 2 is no longer an indie game.
What, because it was too successful?
Because it was too successful. Yeah, there are a lot of people who tie the indie moniker to like underdog or underground. So if they hit any kind of mainstream success, any kind of financial success, then they no longer count. And I'm like, that's not what we should be focusing on, because if you take that money out of it, you are leaving the indie space only open to those individuals who can self-finance. And that's a very particular kind of demographic, which we saw a lot in the beginning of the indie boom era. And you want more diverse voices. So the money coming in allows for a lot of diversity and a lot of different people with different voices coming in and saying different things. I think specifically of like Blumhouse Games, very big company, but funding a lot of really cool indies, especially like what is it? It's Death Seasons? Dang it. It's a really, really good game. I'm very excited for coming out. But like you don't get that kind of game unless someone is putting up the money. And because indie games have been shown to be successful, that they can compete in this market, people are willing to put that money in. And I love it so, so much. So I don't know if they answered your question, Shay, or if it just answered or just put out more questions for you, but that is sort of where I land.
Well, it's interesting because we also have things like indie publishers at this point. There are indie labels, which was kind of like the antithesis of what an indie game was back in the early days of the indie game boom. But like we have Dotemu, we have Devolver that are kind of paving the way for a lot of these indie developers. But then you have indie developers also working with a lot of like, quote unquote AAA publishing labels as well. Like we had Shinobi Art of Vengeance this year,
Yep.
which was from Lizard Cube, an indie developer, but they did it in collaboration with Sega, and Sega is listed as a co-developer on that.
Yep.
And I spoke with the people who are at Sega who are, working with them day in and day out on this game before it came out. And yeah, that is not an indie game, even though it has a lot of the boxes checked of like what you would expect for an indie game. Like, it has that vibe, it has that art style, it has that gameplay style. It's from an acclaimed indie developer, but because Sega is so heavily involved with the creative process and also the publishing, I understand why you wouldn't classify that as an indie game. But something like Clair Obscur is a little bit more gray area, as is Dave the Diver, where I think if you looked at Dave the Diver in a vacuum, and you're just like, all right, I'm just going to play these games, I'm not going to look at who published it, I'm not going to look at who developed it, you would look at Dave the Diver and you would be like, yeah, that's 100% an indie game. And I think you could say the same thing about like something like The Rogue Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Where
that's a really interesting one for me because the AAA showcase showed up. It was really it's a second year. We're really excited to see what it is. And then the headliner is a game that we would have to argue whether or not it was indie because Ubisoft was straight publishing it. There are like EA did its own version of like a fund for indies, the EA originals. And that was Unraveled and Unraveled 2. And I count those as indies because that was a fund setup specifically for the funding of indie games. But because Ubisoft is like directly publishing, now there's a situation where it's like, okay, they are like creatively involved with this game. So it's like, do you argue that that's an indie because it's obviously an indie developer and it's got that indie vibe? But where the money comes from in this particular case means that they don't have that creative control. So it's a weird thing to be like the indie informer and not be able to tell you what an indie game is.
Well, it reminds me of like the early 2000s or 2010s, I guess it was, when Ubisoft had like its indie label. What was it, Ubisoft Collective? Was that what it was? Or
I don't remember.
But it had like Child of Light was one of the games that came out of that label. And then Square Enix has also an indie label, but I think it's kind of merged back into just Square Enix proper at this point, or they still have their collective label. EA, like you said, had kind of like an indie label for a while. What was it? EA Originals?
Yeah, something like.
So there have been AAA publishers jumping into the indie space, but it also feels like it's kind of not so much jumping in as it is like dipping their toe in and like being like, hey, this is kind of a cool idea. Let's fund this and see where it goes. And it seems like, kind of like Amazon and Google when they were like, hey, we're going to get into gaming. It's like, are you really? Are you really going to get into gaming? Or are you just going to like try a couple of things and then scale way back when it doesn't work out? And it turns out they both scaled way back when it didn't immediately work out.
Yeah.
Which is,
who could have foreseen that?
It's the tale of the corporation in the 21st century. So, unfortunately, that is kind of where we're at there. But I just wanted to start with this conversation because it is kind of a hot button topic with, the Game Awards at the point people are listening to this has already happened.
Yeah. We love who won. Oh, gosh, I can't believe they didn't win. Whatever you believe here, insert.
The outrage. But yeah, so that was just something I wanted to kick off the episode with because, when we're going to talk indie games, we might as well talk about what an indie game even is at this point in the industry's existence. Mm-hmm. So we're going to transition over to talking about your favorite indie games of 2025. But before we do just that, just a reminder to everyone, you are listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast. This show arrives in your podcast feeds completely free each and every Friday. brought to you by the fine folks who support me on Patreon. Without people like them, this show simply would not exist. You can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord, which lets you hang out with fellow listeners of the show. But there are also $5 and $10 tiers that get you early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every show. Just go to patreon.com and search All Things Nintendo. It's only because of the wonderful folks who support this show that it is able to continue each and every week. All right, Jill, you have provided me a list, an extensive list, I would say.
That's a very nice way of putting it, yes.
An in-depth list of several games that you loved in 2025. And I feel like on this list is more games than I played in 2025 overall. So you've been putting in the work, it would seem.
Once you get in, you can't stop. They're small, and you just you get pulled in, and from there you gotta go.
Yeah, I guess the 40 hours that I put into Donkey Kong Bonanza and the 70 plus hours I put into Ghost of Yote kind of derailed my progress of getting through the 7,000 games that you've played this year.
And you know what? We'll all forgive you for that, Shay. It's okay.
But where do you want to start here?
I'm going to pull my list up here so I can see a little better.
I've played some of these. I've one of the ones on your highlight of highlights that you have as the header section.
Yes.
I've only played one of them, but I did review it for Game Informer.
There you go. So that counts as 10. So.
That counts as 10. Let's start there then.
Okay.
It's one that people have heard of on this show before, but I think I want to hear your perspective on this. I've given my perspective, and that is Time Flies.
Time Flies. Oh my gosh. I was like, which one is it going to be? Time Flies. And this game I had been aware of for a very long time. It showed up at I want to say a PAX West some time ago.
I played it at Summer Game Fest, I think 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago, definitely. And it is such a clever pick up and play. You don't have to know too much about it. It doesn't have to explain much to you. Games are so clever when they are able to get you to do the thing they want you to do without explaining. And in fact, in this game, a little bit of obscuring of what they want you to do as well. And it's so beautifully done, black and white, pixel art, fantastic. You play, first and foremost, you play as a fly, and you pick your country. So in each country, they have I don't know where they got this information. I would love to
it
ask
specifically
someone.
tells you on the home screen. It's your life expectancy of a human in that country as designated by the World Health Organization.
Curious. And they've just translated that to fly life?
Yeah, so I guess for every year that
they've
is the
added
average life expectancy, they converted that to seconds.
That's amazing.
So if it's 75 years is the average life expectancy in a country, if you choose that country, it'll give you 75 seconds.
Okay, Shay. So did you pick the United States, or did you go for the longest possible time, or did you give yourself a challenge and go for a shorter time?
I did a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and a little bit of column C. I usually chose United States, but then there were some times where I'm I'm going to choose whatever one gives me the longest, and then the other ones I was let's see what the shortest ones are, and I was doing those and seeing what I could do, and it was not easy to make any meaningful progress when you chose the lower thing. There are ways that you can get
yes, and you can get more time, and it's so brilliant because they reward you for being curious. Mm-hmm. So you're just checking everything out. You start as a fly. The basic idea is kind of like Minute. In that you only have a certain amount of time to live as this fly. Let's go with the United States. I think it was 77 seconds. Oh, junior editor of the Indian Informer has just arrived. Hold on.
People watching the video will see that Jill has a very, very cute cat on her lap now.
They start at 77 seconds, and you have a list kind of like Untitled Goose Game. But the things, like Untitled Goose Games, the things are not outright oh, okay, I'll go do that. It's going to be something go
on tour.
Yeah, play music with the band or something.
Learn an instrument or something like that.
Yeah.
Or or wasn't there one Get Buzzed, which is a fun play on the fact that you're a fly, but also like, you have to find a glass of wine and
drink
like
a little bit
drink
of
a little
it.
bit of
Yeah.
it, but not land in a puddle deep enough that it will
Yeah,
drown
that you'll
you.
die. Yes. So you're just running around trying desperately to complete an entire life's fulfill your life's goals, which are this list of somewhat obscure things that you're trying to figure out what to do. So you can't, I mean, I certainly didn't. Maybe you are a much better gamer than me that you
That goes without
finished all of
saying.
it in once.
No, I mean, I definitely, it took me several runs on each level
Yeah.
to figure out the ins and outs. I don't know if it's possible if anybody could, for lack of a better term, sight read this, because there's so much exploration and so much of like, okay, what exactly does this mean? To like in like transposing or translating like the checklist into what the actual application of that checklist item is in the game. Some of them I got them like first try, but other ones I'm
Right.
like, what the heck could
I
they
don't know what
possibly
I'm
mean
supposed
here?
to be doing. I see that there's a this and it must involve this, but I don't know what to do with it. There's also various different in each, like you start in a level. Like the first one is kind of like a small house.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to not only explore the entire house in the 77 seconds that you have, but also complete all the tasks. And there's usually like 10 or so tasks going on. And it's really fun because you have to explore everything. Nothing is really explained to you. The first time I found a clock and figured out what they did, I was like, yes, that's so cool. I really think this is such a clever game. Once you figure everything out and you check mark everything in one run, now you go to a new exciting place to go and figure out, oh gosh, now I have a whole new thing. So you're just continuously, it's such a hard game to put down because you're like, I know what I need to do. I can get it this time. And then when you've gotten it, the next thing opens up and you're like, oh, now I have to explore this. So it is a very fun game, especially for like a handheld format, to just kind of sit on the couch and like enjoy and figure everything out. And it's so much fun. It's got a lot of like humor to it that I really appreciate. And I still haven't found all the like puzzle pieces.
Oh yeah, there's
But
some like optional collectibles.
There's like optional collectibles, and you can like put them like literally together as a puzzle, which is a lot of fun. So there's just a lot to explore. You can like it can be 5 minutes and put it down, or it can be 10 hours that you throw into this thing all at once. So a really great game. What did you score this, Brian?
I think I gave it a 7.75.
Oh yeah,
it's a pretty good game. I enjoyed it. It's just it is also a fairly short experience, which is a positive and a negative at times. And it is. There are. I feel like it doesn't take long. Like similar to the fly's life cycle, it doesn't take super long to see the vast majority of everything the game has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very good game. I would co-sign it that it belongs on this list for sure.
I love it.
And it's great for Switch.
If they put out more levels, would you go back?
Oh, for sure. And it's such an easy, it's not like when they put out like The Witcher 3 DLC and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on in the story. I have no idea how to play this game anymore. It's been like a year. No, it's like you just jump in, you're right back in it because it's so easy to pick it back up and play it.
100%. Now that we've started, like, I think dead center of my list.
Yeah.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, a holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
Of highlights, where do we want to go from here, Shay?
One that I was curious about is I'm assuming this came out on Switch this year, but this came out a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 1 year ago, and that's Ultros.
Yes, it is. It just came to the Switch this year. Some of them I've highlighted for that exact reason because they are finally on the Switch and they're great to play. Ultros is so good, Shay. I love it so much. It is a Metroidvania. Um, I think the thing you're going to notice about it first is it's absolutely mind-blowing, gorgeous, but like trippy. It's kind of Lisa Frank-ish, if anybody remembers that, dating myself. Pops of color, Technicolor Dream World sort of game. And it doesn't have to go as hard as it does because it's so like beautiful to look at in every single moment, but it goes really hard with the combat and the way that the gameplay actually works. So and the story, I still can't tell you 100% what the story is about. It is very cerebral and like big brained. But the idea is you are a character in a kind of space station that is going around, and in order to get like increases and bonuses and all of like buffs and things, you have to kill enemies, but you have to kill them in the most stylish way possible. And the more stylish, you'll get a kind of like Devil May Cry sort of letter grade on how well you've done stylish wise. And the higher that level, the better the component. So it kind of reminds me of like Red Dead Redemption 2, of like if you kill animals correctly, you'll get better components for them. And depending on how good they are, it will do better things for you. And it's all such a really cool system that plays in on itself, and it is a really fun combat system. You can change things up depending on how you like to play. I'm kind of a sneaky character, so my first thing is always like, okay, yeah, the kill from behind bonus I need to get first and foremost. And it's really beautiful in the way, cinematic in the way that its boss fights play out as well. And it's really something that I want more people to check out, and that I'm really glad came to the Switch so that more people can actually get into it. And I am actually the problem with talking about all these games is like, oh no, now I need to go and like play this immediately because I'm really getting the itch to go back and play this. Combat is so smooth. The concepts, all of everything that works together, all the systems, the idea that you have to choose between whether or not the components that you're picking up heal you or you're saving them for upgrades is a really interesting strategy element. So you've got a lot of really interesting elements going into one particular thing, and it's not a very long game, just long enough. It doesn't overstay its welcome. So
And
I think
you're
go ahead.
100% correct that it is a gorgeous game. Like that's what I've heard about this game when it was coming out, and I don't know if it came out when Game Informer was shut down or if it was just something that like we were really like busy at the time, but I don't think we ended up reviewing it. But it is beautiful, and it looks like a game that would be right up my alley. So much so that while you were telling me about it, I went on the eShop because you very kindly provided links to all of the things to me. And I am clicking in and adding it to my wish list for the next time it goes on sale because it does look so much my jam.
And I will bet you anything that's not going to be the last game. That's
No,
not going to be the last
it's
game.
never the last game when it's like the first one. Like whenever you come on, it just decimates my wish list. But yeah, okay, that sounds amazing. I'm looking at the other ones that are like the top ones you want to highlight, and the one that really stuck out to me is a game called Videoverse.
Yes. Oh, Shay, you're going to love this. I really, really think you're going to like this. Videoverse, another one of those games that came out, I think, last year, but have just very recently, I think in November, came to
This
Switch.
is mid-November it came to Switch.
Yes. It's so good. It is a narrative experience of basically our childhoods. I don't know if kids these days. I had to say it. I don't know if you have the same experience now, but when I was growing up, you kind of had like one thing that you could have. Like I could only have one console. I could only have like one game a year. So you got like really into the community of that one thing, and you bonded, and it was a big deal when the next iteration came out because you were essentially losing that community along with the console. So this is a story of a teenage boy who is really into the Kimoku, if I remember the name of the console correctly. It is a early Nintendo-esque console which has internet connectivity as well, so it's connected to your internet, and he's in all of these different forums. He's trying to be an artist, so he's showing off all of his art, and it is a really interesting study in how we build online communities around our chosen passions. In this case, it is gaming. So you get a lot of cutscenes of one particular game that he really loves, but you also see him trying to make, as you do when you're young, trying to make the internet a better place by fighting the trolls. And it really encourages you to do that as well and to invest emotionally in the different spaces of like the different forums and what's going on, and making friends. It's a little bit slightly like Emily's Away sort of feeling to it, because it's got that nostalgia. It's got that like, oh, there's some drama happening in these online virtual worlds. And then you meet someone very special to you and you have first love, romantic feelings, and not knowing how to feel about this or how to communicate your feelings and not knowing how they feel. And in all wrapped up in this, like the Kimoku is getting essentially the Kimoku 2, which is going to kill all of the, not only like the games, but also because backwards compatibility isn't a thing. It's also going to kill all of these like online internet forums that was connected to this console, and go to a new one with new games and new places. And you see how fractured everybody is. Like, I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to go to the new one, sort of thing. And just like losing that and being a part of a moment in time where it seems so innocent, but you're also learning so much, and it's nostalgic, and learning really about you as a human being as well. It's a really, really fun game. It's also very beautiful with its pixel art style as well, very like monochrome. And then cutscenes are done in like a hand-drawn style, which is also very beautiful. So it's another game that gives back to you as much as you put into it, because you can choose to kind of fly through the main path and not try to take on all of the other internet forum things that are going on or try to help people in any way. But it is a really very like a lovely, lovely game.
Yeah, it's visually striking, as you'd indicate. It looks like it takes place in like the early 2000s is like the time.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Because I see a thing on like in the key art, it says like World Cup 02.
Yeah.
So like that kind of gives you the time frame. But like the games look like they are kind of maybe a little bit earlier than that era, in terms of like the stuff that you're playing in the thing. But yeah, it's a, like you said, visually striking, and a very compelling premise there. So that is available on Switch now as well. I don't know how much it's on sale right now, actually.
It's on sale. Go check it. I think it was in like the 10s, if I remember correctly.
Well, unfortunately, that sale will be over by the time this episode hits. But
well,
it's only $13 at full price.
Everybody should know that this is a great game and go play it right now.
All right. Let's jump over to a game that I feel like I've been getting emails about for like 5 years at this point.
Okay.
But I still have no idea what this game even is. So I'm going to just give the floor to you. It's Henry Halfhead.
I love Henry Halfhead so much. This is a game that this was a Day of the Devs find for me years and years ago. I want to say at least 3 years, but maybe even more than that. It was Two kind of student developers in the corner, not getting a lot of attention. I just kind of decided to stumble over there and check it out. And it's such a cool concept. Just, I mean, it's so silly. It is very silly, but it has a really strong emotional core, which you're not expecting of this game. It is very pastel. It is very, again, Untitled Goose Game, another good touchstone here, where you are given tasks to complete and to go complete them. And at first, that seems like all the game is going to be. You are Henry Halfhead, who's literally, by the way, half of a head, the top half of a head, and you just slither around. Who is going through you're going through the life of Henry Halfhead. So you start as a baby. Luckily, Henry has a very useful gift in being able to possess things. So anything kind of in the environment you can jump into. You can jump into a pencil, and then you can like write around and make little scribbles. You can jump into a piano and make sounds. And that's a big part of sort of the charm in the beginning, is just the amount of just like delight there is in being this character and doing things that are silly and figuring out little environmental puzzles.
So kind of like Mario Odyssey-esque of like just like, you know, capturing objects, or as I called it, possessing objects, which Nintendo did not like when I would call it that. We prefer capturing.
And then you were like, demonic.
We're inhabiting their souls.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. And then it turns into this, you morph into this really beautiful story about, as Henry continues to grow, being different. Because you have a sense, even though you don't really meet anybody in this world, you have a sense that Henry is not normal. Like, he's not like the other kids are not also half-heads. And as a kid, going from that sense of playfulness, that sense of like, let me explore my strengths and who I am, to being slowly taught I'm different and therefore bad. And I need to even though I have certain strengths, those aren't strengths that people are looking to even consider as strengths. So now I have to contain myself inside of this box in which my powers are no longer powers. They are like hindrances. They are looked down upon. I'm looked down upon because I can't do things like other people, because I don't have arms and legs and all of the like things that people are doing these things with, and they don't care.
This is like depressing Little Gator Game.
It's kind of, and it's gonna get more depressing.
Little Gator Game, it was like, oh well, like you're unique and you're fun because you're imaginative and you can go do anything. Go forth, Little Gator Game.
And then you get into school and everyone bullies you because you're a little gator and no one else is. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It gets heavy in a way I was not expecting. So you get into like work, and then issues surrounding capitalism and how that exploits you start to like get into the game, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going back home and I'm just like too exhausted to do anything besides sleep and then go to work and sleep and go to work, and you're playing through it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a little too real for my real life right now. Like, I don't know. And then the clouds break apart, the sun comes through, and you remember, oh yeah, let's just play, let's just be playful. And so like that feeling of coming through and finally being like, oh, okay, it's okay to be me, it's okay to break away from all of this. And then the ending, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but it is literally his entire life. So like the ending is so bittersweet, and I was playing it on stream and I was just like, I'm not crying, you guys are crying. Like, sort of a beautiful, beautiful ending to this game, which it's not a long game. I think it's like 2 hours max. So like to have all of these emotions so quickly and so like poignantly put in there, absolutely beautiful game. Like, hats off to Henry Halfhead, because it's no pun intended, but like, oh, it's such a beautiful game. I love it so much.
Well, you're 3 for 3 on the last few ones because I have wishlisted Videoverse, Henry Halfhead, and Ultros, which means you're really 4 for 4 because I've already played Time Flies.
Kraft mac and cheese is the best thing ever. It's even better than pop music. You look just as natural enjoying us at age 13 as you do 55. Kraft mac and cheese. Best thing ever.
Well, let's jump over to one that I'm a little bit more skeptical on.
Okay.
And I need you to sell me on
Ready.
it. And that is the top of your list. Discounty.
Ooh, Shay, this is fun. You're going to like this one. Okay.
I feel like you're saying that about every one of them, though. And so far, you're right. But...
I mean, why they're the highlights of the highlights. I wrote 40 games out here, Shay. Okay. Discounty, on its surface, looks very Stardew Valley-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays on the assumptions and kind of tropes of that genre and what you expect from a kind of cozy game. It doesn't stay cozy for long.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you play as a character who is coming into town to help their aunt set up this new entry is not the right word, but y'all know what I mean, of a franchise of grocery stores.
A new location.
It's not necessarily a new location, but they've newly franchised with the brand of Discounty.
Okay.
So they are one of many locations in a now giant corporate, whereas before this is a small town, very few people living there, not a lot going on. And so getting to franchise with Discounty in the corporate sense, this is no longer a mom and pop shop. It is very telling. The first time you play this game, you get dropped off on a bus. Very like it's so good at using the tropes of this genre, because it's like you're going to a new place, you're leaving the big city to go to the small town where everybody's doing the thing, and you get dropped off at the bus. But the first thing you have to do is like make it to your aunt's house, not that far away. But there's this huge, unsettling and like speed demon freeway that you have to go across, which like as you learn later on has kind of just been built. And it's important because it's kind of the lifeblood of the town. No one would stop by if not for it, but immediately you're trying to cross it and like these cars are going so fast, you're like, I'm gonna die. The first thing I'm gonna do in this game is die. And you're dodging these like people who could not care less about you, people who could not care less about the town. And it's this really beautiful like beginning metaphor for what is going to be happening in this game of consumerism and commercialism and all of that and the things that it brings to a town and the help and the money and the resources, but also what it could metaphorically and physically kill. So you get to your aunt's house and you live in a trailer. She sets you up in the trailer behind her house. You don't get like, oh, here's this nice empty house for some reason. Here's this nice farm entirely left for you. You get set up in a little trailer and your job is, it then switches to essentially, it's no longer like a farming sim. It is very much a shop management sim. And you get really into it. And the game has a time, like really, the time in the game is really, really important. And that time just kind of flies by as soon as you open the shop and people are going to come up and grab groceries and they want certain types of groceries and you have to unlock them by selling a certain amount and checking people out and making sure the store is clean and it's just you running around doing all of this. And so you get really, really into, you the player get really, really into like the efficiency, making things work. So I'll like close down the shop and make sure, okay, now I'm going to make all of these new displays and make sure everything's efficient. And as you go through more and more, the gameplay becomes go to sleep, go to work, go to sleep, go to work. And you barely have time to do any of the, like, in the beginning, you were meeting people and seeing what their problems were. And so, like a typical game of this genre might, you start losing that. And then it starts to become a burden when people, like, I feel like 70% of the way through, someone has a really difficult time of things. And you are then tasked with, like, helping them, like, complete their daily needs because they need you. So it's like, I know they need me and I know they're my friend, but my Apple display, so you as the player start to have this really weird moment where you're like, do I really care more about the profits of my store than helping this person who needs help? So it's a really interesting, like, it comes to a head in a really interesting way because it's not just the game, it is you that have made the decisions. Like, my character, Shay, I was so into this. My character on weekdays would have their uniform ready, like that they would wear their uniform and they would wear their hair a certain way, and I would, like, make sure that I was ready and presenting discounty in the right way. And on the weekends I would be like, oh, this is my fun weekend outfit, even though more often than not on the weekends I was still going into the store to, like, complete orders and unlock new things. By the end, like, there's this whole mystery that's going on and something's happening in the town. You're kind of tasked with figuring out what it is. But by the end, the conclusion is so beautiful because it is not only blaming, like, capitalism and, like, some distant idea of, like, oh, the big bad industry people. It's like, look at your life, look at yourself, look at your community and how it has contributed to the system that continues to allow exploitation of this sort, and it does not let you off the hook. And I'm like, that's not where a cozy game should end, but it does, and it's so good.
Well, Jill, you've done it again. I added it to the wish list. I was actually starting to dwindle away at my my wish list, and now it's getting repopulated.
Yeah,
so.
no, I recently went into my Steam wish list and, like,
Oh, no.
aggressively called down. So now I'm only at, like, 250 instead
my
of
God.
instead of the over 400 that I had.
I think at its peak, my Switch wish list was like 40 something.
Yeah.
And my Steam wish list, I usually keep pretty low because I don't really game on PC that much. But like, there are certain games where I'm like, oh, I should absolutely wish list that. And then, like, 8 years pass and it's still not out. And you're like, well, I should probably get rid of this because there hasn't been an update in 3 years. It hasn't come out in, the 8 years that I've had it on my wish list. There's a few that I'm still holding up hope will, like, come out. But I'm starting to lose hope on some of them. One of them is called Savior. You remember that one?
Okay, yeah.
It's like extremely fluid animations. It's like an action platformer with, like, combat and everything. And I was like, wow, this is, like, a really, like, beautiful, like, pixel art style with, like, smooth animations. It has been radio silence for years at this point, I think. And I'm just like, no.
What if it showed up at the Game Awards?
I would be excited, but I don't know if it's, like, a big enough reveal at this point because I feel like it made a big splash for one day on social media and then never again.
Yeah.
But we have Discounty now to fill the void.
Yeah,
but
go play.
That sounds super cool. We have a few more here that are on your highlight of highlights list.
Yes.
You want to let's go to the next one on the list here. Promise Mascot Agency, which I saw the trailer for it in preparation for talking to you about this. And after watching that trailer, I don't think I have any better idea what the heck this game is.
I played the game and I can't really tell you exactly what this game is about. The overarching thing I want to get across is that it is not only completely ridiculous, but its foundation is real, genuine care. And that's what makes it a good game. Like, there are a lot of games that are just like, oh, get in this, it's silly, it's ridiculous, the premise is wild. But this game actually makes you care deeply about all of its characters, what is going on, all of the communities that you're a part of, and it's kind of equal measures, so that on one hand, you're laughing at the ridiculous things you're doing. On the other hand, you're like, I really do have to do this. So you play as a member of the Yakuza.
Okay, off to a
Just
great
to
start.
start off. It is in a very difficult time for the Yakuza as a whole, because police officers are starting to crack down a lot more on Yakuza activity. So they're getting pressure from that side. On the other side, because of the kind of shrinking opportunities, we'll say, there is a lot of tension within the different families of the Yakuza. So you are playing as a kind of smaller family that is under another really big family. And you're about to do this really big deal with another really big family to help your overbosses. And things do not go well. Things, unfortunately, go very, very bad. And in a moment that really teaches you about the protagonist, he decides to sacrifice himself, like literally, for his kind of sworn brother, to make everything go right. He takes all the blame for everything that's happened, and the head of his family kills him. And then you like see him in the back of a truck. And so he's not really dead. He has instead been publicly killed. So he no longer exists in the world. Everyone thinks he's dead. But he's secretly been saved and sent in a truck to a town that is known to have a curse for killing male Yakuza members.
What a unexpected ride. It all started with, well, you play as a member of the Yakuza, and I'm like, okay, that's an interesting hook.
Yeah.
And then like every sentence that you've said since has been completely unpredictable.
Well, here's where it gets more unpredictable.
Okay.
In this world, there is a real connection to the kind of otherworld magic of spirits, and that is manifested in real life living mascots.
I don't know what that could possibly mean, but I'm sure
So,
you'll try and tell me at least.
as a fan of Japan, I'm sure you will know that almost everything has a little like mascot character.
Of
like
course.
Different towns, different stores, like anything can have its little mascot character.
Big fan of Don Quixote mascot.
I am a big fan of Kumaman, who
the
is
little like penguin guy.
He's a bear, but he's
I'm thinking of the
black
wrong
and
one, then.
white. He's so cute. I have a little thing of him over there, but
I need to look up what the penguin guy is.
in this world, the mascots are not people in costumes. The mascots are creatures that are, for all intents and purposes, sort of low-level gods that live in this world only to bring their form of mascotry to the universe.
I'm so confused by like what this could possibly mean.
It's so good. It's so good. So what happens? You are sent to this town known for killing, by curse, Yakuza males. And your job is to make up the money you have lost in this deal. And of course, the only way to do this under the noses of the bosses, which we're trying to not let them know that anything's gone wrong, is to rehabilitate the Promise Mascot Agency. So, which, by the way, in the beginning has been turned into a love hotel. So the surroundings are very questionable about this game.
I just love the synopsis here. It says, Go, Michi and Pinky solve the mystery and create a home for mascots everywhere. Okay. Well, what were you going to go with next when you said that? So are you ready?
We're going to meet Pinky.
Okay.
Pinky is a legitimate pinky. It is a severed pinky finger who she is lovely and magical and full of hope for the world, except when she's angry. She gets very, very angry. Playing off against Michi, who is this very somber, very serious Yakuza high-level enforcer, very legendary, who carries a broom constantly because they're known as the janitor. That's just part of their legend.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's like a pro wrestler when it's like, oh yeah, he has a raven that he carries around on his shoulder.
Yeah. Don't pay attention to that. So it is now Pinky and Michi team up in order to go out and recruit different mascots and to sell them to people for various events so that you can make money and send it back to the Yakuza. The only thing is, while you're playing, you learn a little bit about the town, and it is kind of ramshackle and run down. And so you start to fall in love with all of the community there and learning about the NPCs who are like teachers and like train conductors and trying to like make their town something again. So your project becomes important to the town itself, as well as literally trying to save your life and the life of your entire Yakuza family, because if the overbosses find out what's happened, they'll kill them all. So you have this really high stakes and really loving sort of reason to finish playing Promise Mascot Agency. You go in. First of all, you only play as a truck.
We're digging a deep hole here.
You only play as a truck, which is amazing. And you can upgrade the truck to wild levels. So when you're outside of the mascot agency, you're zooming around. You're constantly like running into things. You're collecting collectibles. It's great. You will run into mascots. You will have to convince them to come and work for you. Part of that is negotiating their contract, how much you can give them without getting without how much you can give them and get as much as you can without giving them as much. So this is weird like consumerism thing about how much you can squeeze.
So wait, you're negotiating as Michi or the truck?
As Michi.
Okay.
Not as the truck. The truck
we're getting more and more absurd as we go.
Yeah. Shay, trucks don't talk, okay?
A lot of things don't talk, Jill, but here we are with Promise Mascot Agency.
So you're building up your roster of all of these like completely ridiculous and in some cases not safe for work mascots, which you then can find people in the community that's like, I'm opening a bookstore. Can you send one of your people? And depending on how well it goes, you get a certain amount of money. And if they run into trouble, you've got all your super team to back you up. And these are usually humans who are like really good. This person's really good at maintenance. This person's really good at like interpersonal connections. This person's really good at medical problems. So like, hopefully you've collected that roster as well so that you can throw them out as cards. Now it becomes a card-based game. Yeah.
Was it like a deck builder, or is it like what's the card integration here?
In that when you meet these people and recruit them, they become cards and you can play them during the event segment of the game. So when the event is going on, you can play them as cards. There's just so much to this game. It's so good though. It all comes together in a really fun way.
How long is this game? Because the way you're describing it makes it sound like it's an epic odyssey, but you're going to be like, it's 3 hours long.
It's not. It's like 20, 30 hours. It'll take you a while.
All right.
And it's just really, and as your mascots do well, they level up, and you're continuously kind of playing these, like exploring the world in your truck and finding things and helping people, going to events to help the mascots get through their day. It's so cute. My favorite mascot in this game is called Tofu, and he's just a sad little square of a tofu, and he's constantly crying, and he's constantly like, I'm not any good, nothing, like no one loves me. And I'm like, Tofu, I love you so much. And he'll get stuck indoors during his like events, so you have to like push him through.
Wide.
Yeah, and that's so cute, and
Can
I
you
love
be
it.
mean to Tofu?
I would never be mean to
But is
Tofu.
that an option?
Pinky is kind of mean to Tofu a bit. So
Like, could I double down on Tofu's negative self-talk?
probably, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, even though I do love Tofu, I definitely underbid them.
Oh, so you took advantage of Tofu in negotiations.
Yeah, because it's important we get that money to save my family.
It all goes back to discounty of like, the real friends that we made along the way were,
Money.
net gains.
Yeah, 100%. And that's Promise Mascot Agency. Easy, simple concepts.
We're all here just to deliver value for the shareholders. That's what you're really saying. Okay. Well, Promise Mascot Agency is one of those ones I'm going to add it to my wish list. You gave me this very detailed rundown. I still have no idea what this game is.
I played it and I can't tell you, that's the best.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
I can do.
But let's look at you have 4 remaining on this highlight of highlights, and then we'll do some quick hits after we get through these 4. This one is going to be a fun one for me to say, and that is Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo.
There are people who say this name, and it sounds like poetry flowing from their mouth. Pipistrello. And I'm like, I cannot say that. I am like, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo. First of all,
have a little music in the way you say it. You got to hold your hand like this. It's a very Italian sounding name.
Yeah. I need you to look at this character.
Okay.
And tell me what you think Pipistrello is. Because that is sort of the first quiz test. Yeah. Everybody, for
the
audio listeners, Shay looks very quizzical.
Is it a bat?
Is it a bat? It is not a bat.
So I see. Oh, it's a mouse.
It's not a mouse.
What is it then?
I thought mouse. It's a beetle.
Oh,
it's a beetle.
Okay, I kind of see that. It's more clear. It's not even very clear in the key art where it's actual like hand-drawn animation. It's but the sprite itself is extremely ambiguous.
Yes. I had the developer themselves come up to me and ask me this question. I was like, I don't know, I think it's a rabbit.
This sounds like it was like an internal debate at the developer of like, this looks nothing like a beetle. And like, I'll show you. Let's go up to this person playing the game. And then you're like, I have no idea. Is it a mouse? And they're like, well, I've lost this argument.
Yep. Or they turned around and was like, she totally knew it was a beetle. That's fine. So Pipistrello is our beetle hero who has a sort of, their life is about yo-yoing. Like,
It's a very Penny's Big Breakaway.
Yeah, you have nothing in their life except for the next yo-yo competition, and that's their sort of whole reason for being. At one point, they go to visit their aunt, and their aunt just happens to be the sort of corporate overlord of the world.
Okay.
You wouldn't have known it from the beginning because we're just all about yo-yos here. You walk into a scene where your aunt, we assume, we don't know a lot, is receiving their comeuppance for things that had to be done in order to gain dominance in the world, as they have.
I'm noticing a theme with some of the games that you are bringing to the table.
I didn't think about it beforehand, but here we are. there are three or four characters that have pointed some sort of weaponry at your aunt. At the last minute, you are sort of try to get in the way so that she doesn't get hit by it. But what happens is that your yo-yo fuses with your aunt. So you're like pushed down a hole, you wake up, and suddenly your yo-yo is talking to you. And they're like, I'm your aunt, stop treating me like this, or whatever.
Since the main character is a beetle, it would be very clever if the ant was an ant. But I'm assuming the ant is a beetle.
I think also, it's also very hard to tell. One would assume it was a beetle, but it could be a bunny, you know? Okay. I don't know.
That would be extremely weird, though. some cross-species implications there.
We've just fused a creature with a yo-yo, so I'm not putting anything out.
Okay.
So the game then turns into a very like action adventure sort of game. You learn different yo-yo tricks to get through various enemies. It's a really cool system where the yo-yo is your tool for both exploration and combat. They have really clever environmental puzzles where you can like bounce your yo-yo off of different things and get people that way, instead of like me being hard-headed, just like, oh, I'm gonna get everybody one by one, and try to figure out how to save your aunt from being a yo-yo. But also figure out what was going on with that first scene and why she may not have been seen very well by a lot of people, and really coming to understand your place in the world, because you've never really thought that much about it, because it's just family. I didn't think too deeply, so now I have to be confronted with the realities of who my family is and what we've done to the world. Yeah, I'm seeing the theme. I'm seeing it now.
It almost sounds like a game that hasn't come out yet as of this recording, which, you know, could come out at any day because we heard it was delayed, but not for long. The visuals remind me of Mina the Hollower.
Yeah.
Some of the gameplay reminds me of Penny's Big Breakaway, which I already mentioned. And then, like, you know, kind of that Game Boy top-down action adventure game, like, you know, Link's Awakening or something like that Mina the Hollower is veering pretty close to anyway, and its style. But yeah, it seems like it's a pretty cool game.
Yeah, 100%. Go check it out.
So yeah, is that like an accurate like rundown of like the elements at play here? If you like that type of top-down action adventure game, then this might be kind of up your alley.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and that retro aesthetic as well. Let's see. We got 3 left on the highlight of highlights list that you've provided. Let's start with a game that is called 30 Birds. I've never even heard of this.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It is in its essence an action adventure as well. Very kind of find the thing, open up new things to do to find the next thing. You're living in a world where there is a kind of broad power that is a bird that dreams. And there are birds within the world that kind of represent different powers. And those 30 birds have been kidnapped? ? Something has gone wrong. They were supposed to do something, and that is not being able to be completed. So your character is tasked with finding all of these birds. And it is a game that plays with the field of gameplay as well as what tasks you need to do. So it's this really lovely kind of cubist gameplay, kind of what was the Link
Between Worlds. I got that vibe as well when I was watching the trailer earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, it almost gives me like Link Between Worlds meets what was that game? Gorogoa? Was that the name of it?
Yeah.
It almost gives me that type of vibe as well. Like that type of art style with the mechanics of like fusing with the wall of Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
that's
really cannot understate, and I'm sure that people will be seeing it, just how beautiful this game is. It's one of the most beautiful games I think I've seen in recent history, just in the way that it is drawn, and it is using shapes in really, really cool ways in the actual gameplay itself. And just getting through and experiencing this world and it is a very fun, like, sit back and play for however long and then jump back out and then jump back in kind of game. And you kind of understand it is a game built upon games in that you kind of understand what you're doing, even though the setting is very Middle Eastern. So it's a game setting you don't see a lot and you don't get to experience. So the fusion of those two things really makes it a very unique experience as well. And it's kind of this like future retro sort of vibe as well, because this whole society is like in the future, kind of floating through space sort of situation, but everybody's just chilling and like making music and having fun at a festival.
why are they having a better life than we are in reality when they're the ones that are, I guess we're floating through space too, if you think about it.
If you think about it, yeah. But if you play 30 Birds, you can be them for however long. Escapism at its best.
And then the corporate overlords come in if my
Yeah,
the way
where are
that
the
I've
corporate overlords here?
it just seems like this is like the breath of fresh air from
Yes.
the corporations ruining our fun that has been in almost every other game that you've brought up here.
Yeah, the breath of fresh air, which is the world's fate is resting on you finding 30 birds.
But hey, everybody's just sitting around playing music,
Relaxing.
like you said.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, that game definitely landed on my wish list as well. Let's go to Until Then.
Well, if you were ready for a relaxing game to play, this is not it. It is going to break your heart.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I was just saying my heart could use some breaking.
It's got a kind of 2.5D visual pixel art.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. You are playing as just a normal kid. I want to say Indonesia, Philippines, something along those lines. Sorry, I need to look it up. But you're just a kid doing your normal thing. You have normal kind of difficulties of life and growing up and coming of age and learning who your friends are and how to deal with that. When something truly traumatic happens and you have to sort of wrestle with your part in that and what you didn't see before and how you weren't able to help stop what was eventually going to happen in this very, very touching, very emotionally impactful sort of game while you're going through and just experiencing life in this very beautiful place and looking back at things. Like, it's kind of hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil anything. But if you are looking for a very impactful narrative adventure game, this is the one for you. And this is another game that came out some time ago, but has since released on the Switch. So
Which I will say a knock against it is it came out June 26, 2025 on Switch. However, the eShop page says it's unsupported on Switch too. It says problems with game progression have been found, which is very strange because that is like one of the only times I've seen that. Like usually it's like behavior is consistent with Switch. And I'm like, okay, cool. Or sometimes it even performs better on Switch too. But this seems like it's actually it just says, I mean, as of July 22nd, 2025, it says that there are problems with the game progression. Maybe they'll fix that at some point. But also I did look it up and it is Philippines.
Gotcha.
But it looks amazing. I have it on my wish list in case they ever fix it. But because I don't even have my Switch 1 plugged in anymore. But This is one that I remember hearing about a while ago, and I would love to play it, but yeah, hopefully they patch the Switch 2 version.
Man, I'm looking at all the pictures again, and I'm feeling what I felt in those moments. I'm just like, oh, man, do yourself a favor and put yourself through that heartbreak because it is so good.
How long of a game is this?
This is a short game. This is 5 to 10 hours at 10 hours at most. It's not. It is something you can definitely knock out in a weekend. Just prepare to have some tissues and to be emotionally ready for it.
I will say, certain games, when they come with that disclaimer, I get kind of deterred from it. And it's not because I'm afraid of emotions. It's not because I'm afraid I cry at a lot of movies. Let me just throw that out there. And I well up on almost every gaming event that I go to because I just feel so overwhelmed by like everything that's happening. And it's just kind of like the young version of me being like, holy crap, this is like happening around me.
I usually wait until the end when I'm like, oh no, it's ending and all my friends are here and we're done with this beautiful time in our lives.
For me, it's always when like a big announcement happens, and like even if it's not one that I really care about, like I love Smash Brothers Ultimate, but I don't care about Kingdom Hearts. So when they announced Sora, I was like, that's cool, I guess. And then like I looked at the reaction videos, and then that's when I started openly sobbing because I'm like, oh, it means so much to these people.
Being in the room when that sort of thing, where it's like a lot of like AAA games are not big for me anymore. Like looking around and seeing people like jumping up and down and like crying, and I'm just like, oh man, this is what we're here for.
Yeah, and so I'm not afraid to like, have emotions with games and stuff. Like I'll openly admit there have been games that have made me cry. But it's like, man, am I emotionally prepared for this? That's why I've never played Before Your Eyes, because I've heard it is going to be a game that you are just going to be just weeping by the end of it. And there's a couple games where it's like I just put it off for months and months, and it's like, nope, I need to do this. And like The Walking Dead season 1, Telltale's The Walking Dead season 1, where I'm just like, oh, here we go. We're strapping in for the roller coaster.
Like, I get it, but there's such a beautiful cleansing that comes along with feeling those emotions, pouring your eyes out, and just like having that. It lightens your life in a way that I really recommend that you go try this out.
Well, I will as soon as it gets patched on Switch 2, or maybe I'll just play it on Steam, or I'm assuming it's on PlayStation or something that I can check that out.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm sure eventually they'll play. It would be a massive miscalculation on their part to not make it compatible fully with the Switch 2. It seems like it does work. It just, they can't, like Nintendo can't be like, hey, this game will run like flawlessly, because they would be false advertising.
Right.
But we have one left, Jill, on this highlight of highlights list, and then we'll do a few quick hits here. And that is ILA, a Frosty Glide. Or is it Isla?
I want to say Isla. I've always said Isla, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I have no idea if that's actually how you say it, but Isla is the name of the character.
Okay, well then it's probably Isla.
It could be Ela. It could be Isla. I don't know. Isla Frosty Glide is a game to play after Until Then. It is a delightful and pleasant and charming experience to just be in that world. It has some darker moments. It has some thoughtful moments. But for the most part, it is a beautiful blend between a shimmering snow world and the fluid, fun action of running around on what is called a skate broom, because you are a witch. And like you have a broom, but in this case, you're a little bit of a cool witch. So your broom is a skateboard.
Okay.
So you come to an island and you are told, or the player is told, that your cat, Coco, has gone missing. And not only is it your cat, your beloved friend whose memories you will find throughout your adventure, they are your familiar. They are important to you as a witch and as a person. And so it is your job to find what has happened to Coco and go save her. The game is essentially a 3D platformer, which a lot of fun just puzzling out, like, where do I go from here? Where do I go from there? Which path do I follow? How do I get through each level? Each level it's environmental puzzles to some degree, but a lot of it is just puzzling out, how do I get from one place to another? But it always just feels so good because it is this very, like, for lack of a better word, magical experience of floating around and gliding through this very lovely snow-covered island. As you go, your magic becomes more powerful. So in the beginning, you can only go so far before falling. But as you go, you collect more kind of magical essence, and you're able to jump farther and to glide farther than before. You have to get a magical shield that allows you to get past certain places. And the verticality of this game is so much fun because you are constantly going higher and higher to summit this mountain. And when you look down from where you started, it is so amazing to see how tiny everything looks from where you started and to see this amazing view. And I really can't describe just how pleasant it is to exist and to be and to pick up cute little outfits that look like frogs, and to uncover the narrative of the world through little bits and pieces of, like, why is no one in this village? And then you see like a sign that's like, we're all gone away for this event, and you learn more about that event and you're like, interesting, things must not have gotten better because no one's back yet. And like the world is filled with like animated brooms because they expect their people to come back at any moment, but they just haven't. There are some really interesting moments talking about self-doubt and like all of the things that prey on you to keep you from being your ultimate self, and going through like essentially ghosts and like getting through that world. And then when you get over it and you get powerful and you're like, oh, I feel so good. It feels so good to play this game. There's also, for anybody who is a fan of the Indian Farmer, a little cameo, perhaps. A
What?
little, you might keep an eye out for something that is in the
Interesting.
game.
It's giving me, like, the way you're describing it, not just because you're climbing a mountain, but it gives me Celeste vibes.
Yes, Celeste, in a little bit perhaps less challenging, maybe a little bit more a short hike is
Okay, so
kind of the
short hike, but Celeste themes maybe of, like, self-doubt, anxiety, and then scaling an actual mountain as you try to overcome these mountain challenge, or this mountain of anxiety and self-doubt, like,
yeah.
the metaphor, the metaphorical mountain.
And the problem with this game
Oh
is
no.
that I finished and I rolled credits and I was like, but I can't stop. I have to like this is one of the only games that I've 100%ed this year because I just
Whoa.
needed to go through and find all of the, like, now that I have all this power, I have to go through and use it, So I had to like find all of the different things, which were really, really satisfying and really clever, like, puzzles to figure out. So I really loved that as well. And I was just like, that's hard when you're playing a game for review and you're like, okay, I've rolled credits, so now I can get to the work of it. But I just want to exist here for a little bit longer. And that is one of the best things I can say about Isla, a Frosty Glide. Isla, because it is just pleasant to be in. And it's going to save you, Shay. It's going to make sure that after your heart is hollowed out from the sadder games, that it just fills you back up.
Well, I mean, I was ready to not put this on my wish list. And then when you gave me that, like, oh, well, I reviewed it and I rolled credits and I decided that I wanted to spend more time in that world, that was what pushed me over the edge to put it on
Mhm.
my list.
It's an unusual incentive. Not a lot of people perhaps would be pushed by that, but we are because we understand that experience. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I have Isla, the what is it even called? Isla and
Isla, a Frosty
A
Glide.
Frosty Glide. I have that on my wish list now, and I will definitely check that out when a sale rolls around because I had not heard of this game at all.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you see this game and you know it's an indie. Like, it is
Yeah.
a indie. I've been watching it for a really long time. I watched it ever since it was on itch.io.
Mm.
So I'm really, really excited to kind of see it develop. And it came out really well. And it's like, you know how often you watch these things and then they come out and they're just kind of like, this one I was just like, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so
Yeah.
glad.
In Walmart's Newville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego Flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Newville, East, West, South, and North could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart? Who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
Yeah, there's a few indie games where I'm like, oh, this looks amazing. This is going to be my new jam. And then it comes out and you're like, it's fine. And that's always such like it's almost more soul crushing when it's just fine because you know there's like a kernel of a really great game in there and like wrapped around like this amazing idea than if it was just like outright bad. Because if it was outright bad, then at least there's like no redeeming qualities and you're like, oh, they weren't even close.
Yeah.
But it sounds like all these that you've brought to the table are very good. All right, so that wraps up your highlight of highlights. But you have several other games you want to talk about. I have some games I want to talk about, so I'm going to take part in this, but we're going to kind of speed run these as like those are your top recommendations. Those are your eShop gems of the year. These are just kind of the honorable mentions, I think.
Like 40 other honorable mentions, but
We're
let's
not
go.
going to touch on all of them. A few that I want to shout out. Marvel Cosmic Invasion. That is one that I think that like, you know, it's kind of one of those, it's like, it's a Marvel game. Is it really that much of an indie title? But I have been playing it and I've been really enjoying it. I'm a huge Marvel nerd, so it makes sense that I would love it. I also really love TMNT Shredder's Revenge. So, you know, when you take that same studio and you make a Marvel game, I am going to be a fan of it. But yeah, it's really fun evolution of like the side-scrolling beat 'em up. It has that really charming like sprite-based art style that TMNT had. And a fun like tag mechanic where you can jump in and with like you choose two heroes to play as and you can tag in and out, which is kind of like an homage to the game you see over my shoulder, Marvel vs. Capcom. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that game. Another
You can see the shock on my face that's on your list.
One that's on your list as well, but I'm going to shout it out because it's in my top 10 of 2025 overall, and that is Ball X Pit.
Yep.
That is so much fun. We've talked about it on this show before, so we don't need to like delve too deep into it. But it's basically a twin stick shooter meets Vampire Survivors meets Breakout, where, you know, waves of enemies are coming at you. You're blasting like these balls that are out of the gun that you're shooting, and they're bouncing around like in Breakout, where like you're trying to break through like walls and stuff. Only every time they drop like experience, you level up and you can unlock a new perk, new weapon, whatever. And you're leveling up your character constantly. Bigger and bigger boss battles are coming in. And then there's like a harvesting mini game that like you build your town in a certain configuration. You can harvest it and it bounces around. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and it's a perfect game for the Switch. I started out on PS5 and I actually bought it on Switch and migrated my progress over to that. So definitely one that I recommend checking out. And then there's, I mean, TMNT Tactical Takedown is one that you also have on your list. That's one that I played a good deal of before it came out. I also played it when it came out. We've had Mike Futter, former Game Informer editor, on the show twice already. And, you know, he was heavily involved with that game as well. But very fun, like strange hybrid of like a beat 'em up like you come to expect from the Turtles, but also like, you know, it's a turn-based strategy game, but it's such a clever application of this, and it's from one of the most prolific indie studios on the planet, really.
Yeah.
Strange Scaffold. They've put out what, like 4 or 5 games this year?
Okay, here's the thing. The Indie Council had a bingo at the beginning of the year saying they were going to put 5 games out, and they only hit like 3.5 this year.
Only.
So, Xalavier, I'm coming for you. You made me lose.
Xalavier is also a very good conversation.
Oh my gosh, an amazing person, an amazing conversationalist. If I could just hear him talk all the time, I would have that looping.
Extremely smart, just very insightful with all the stuff that he says, and it shows in the games he designs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, a couple others. There's a few on here that I bought, but I have not played yet. One that I can shout out is Powerwash Simulator 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is a game that's either going to be extremely your jam or extremely not your jam. When I say that, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where it's like, it's extremely my jam for like the first hour. And then I'm like, oh my God, can I please do literally anything else? Like, it's so satisfying to wash away like layers of dirt on like whatever object you're tasked with cleaning. But then like every single mission hits a point for me where I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm
Like-
very much with you on that particular. My partner will sit there and just layer by layer, meticulous cleaning. And I'm just like, can you just give me one that goes, and I'll be done.
But yeah, it's very satisfying. It's maybe the best podcast game of the year. It is so good to put on a podcast, and just when I was reviewing it for Game Informer, I went through so many podcasts. I cleaned out so much of like my podcast backlog while I was playing that, and also listened to some albums that I have been like putting off listening to. So it was good for that. And then there's other games that like I don't think we need to throw them in the eShop gems categorization, because I don't think there's anybody listening to this podcast that hasn't at least heard of Hades 2 or Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're games that we can recommend wholeheartedly that are bona fide indie games. So
Yes.
worth bringing up and calling out. How about, let's see, there's some that I've bought that I just haven't had a chance to fire up yet. And Roger is one, which
Oh,
I've heard is
gosh.
one of those games you want to know
It's-
as little about as possible.
Very little, and you're going to, again, tissues. You're going to need
I've
them.
heard that. Two others that are games. One of them is a game that came out last year on PC, but is now out on Switch, and that is UFO 50.
Yes, 100%.
That's just like this fictional
So
game
good.
publisher, and they put out like a digital eclipse style like compilation of 50 games from this fictional publisher, but it's like actual like amazing like indie developers coming together and collaborating on these different games, where it's like it feels like these games from the 80s and 90s. I've played very little of it, but like it seems like it's, you know, it lives up to the hype, because I heard nothing but like, oh my God, you got to play UFO 50. And I was like, well, this was last year, I'm currently laid off and don't have any money, so so I
But
did
you have
never
so
play
much
it.
time now, so.
all the time. Another one that I have heard great things about, but I haven't dove into, but I have it on my Switch. Morsels. Tell me about that one.
Yes. Oh, this is so fun. It's one of those games that you could probably try to explain the premise, but even playing it, it's just like, okay, let's forget that, because there is no understanding that will make sense. You are a mouse in a world run essentially by cats. And at some point in time, the cards came down from the universe and changed everything, and changed the power towards the cats, who now hold all of the good cards. And as it says in its beginning, only for the rest of the world, which I guess are mices, mooses, are morsels of cards. So, and it's just so lovely. You start out in the sewers, because of course, You have a giant sewer monster that looks very menacing, but then asks to give you a hug and loves you. So don't judge a book by its cover. You go and you pick up your first card, which is a little morsel, and you transform into that morsel. It is a level by level roguelike game, which you are playing as morsels. They all have slightly different powers. Some of them just like shoot out little beams, like all vaguely twin stick shooter-esque. And you are just trying to get your morsel from the beginning to the end. There are things you can collect along the way and bring with you. And if you do, you get better things, you get more resources. You can collect cards along the way. You can have up to 3 morsels at any time, which you can switch between and like play with all their different styles. The only problem is if your last morsel, and each of them have 3 hearts, if your last morsel loses its heart, that's the end. You go all the way back to the beginning and you are starting over. It is a really fun jump in, play, no thoughts in brain sort of game, and just to get through. And it is really difficult. It is not an easy game. They do have an easy mode if you would prefer to get along, but it gives you that thrill of getting through like a boss battle and you barely hanging on. It causes you to choose different morsels. You can't just stick with the one you really, really like, because as you play, you get experience points, you level up your morsels, but at a certain moment of experience points, your morsel will die of old age.
Oh no.
So you have to continuously be like giving enough attention to all of them, or else you're going to be in a position where I've been in very many times where your morsel dies and you're back to like a level 1 morsel and you're not in a level 1 morsel area. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a very silly and it's very odd and lovely. It's fun. It's very fun.
Well, there is one game that I want to ask you about, and then I want you to choose 2 to close us out.
Oh gosh.
Going from one mouse game to another, Winter Burrow.
Oh,
it seems like
yay.
it's almost like Don't Starve, but featuring a mouse.
Kind of, yeah. It is very much a survival game. I think it's very hard for people to kind of grasp because it is a cozy game, but it's not cozy because you will die. You will freeze to death. It is the stakes are life and death. There's a lot of darkness to this game. So I think that people who go in expecting it to be just a cozy experience where you decorate your house and you cook meals are going to be a bit startled by that. There are those elements. That's a lot of fun for me. I'm a weirdo in the fact that I like both things. So it's a really fun game for me. If you go in expecting it to be a pure survival game, like that's going to be hard too, because it is meant to be very accessible, like jumping in platform for survival games. So if you've never experienced a survival game before and they seemed too scary for you and too intense and too upsetting, this is probably a really good place to start because it is very forgiving. If you like most survival games, your inventory starts out very squished and you need resources in order to do things. So if by the way the game works, if you have to like drop something along the way because you've picked up another resource and you don't have space, that dropped item stays there for the rest of the game. You can always come back and pick it up. So it's got a lot of like really friendly, the combat is not combat more than it is just another element of getting through the world and finding resources. But it introduces a lot of those factors. It's so gorgeous. It is like a child's storybook in the way that it is hand-drawn. Every single environment is more beautiful than the last. There are some really interesting concepts that are dealt with in the NPCs that are not usually the kinds of things you think about for a cozy game. Like we're getting into things that are like, who you are in a relationship and diminish yourself for your partner, and hints of like perhaps abuse and hints of like dealing with grief and anxiety and not being who you were, and becoming smaller and recognizing that and being ashamed of that, but at the same time not being able to go against it. And like I'm like, that's not something that I was expecting to kind of be a theme in this game, and there are other themes kind of like that. So I really think that the narrative is very impactful, emotional, and dense in a way I was not expecting. But again, it's not a very dense game in and of itself. Pretty short. I think a lot of people. I am a weirdo in that this is not a problem for me, but a lot of people really want there to be a map, which there is not currently. But I believe the developers are working on it. I really like not having a map because I really enjoy the exploration and not knowing where to turn. And I get excited whenever I open up a little backpack somewhere and it's got a new recipe for me to try out, or a furniture to build or something. So it's like, it is such a weird blending of these two seemingly opposite genres, but in a really cool way that I hope brings a lot of people into another genre that they might never have checked out otherwise. So Winter Burrow, I love it. I love being in the world. I think it has some criticisms, but I tend to be much, much higher on this experience than some people.
Well, it's definitely one that I am planning on checking out. And the way you described it made me want to like maybe have it skip the line a little bit, because that sounds incredible.
It's really, really interesting.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
I got a message that our flight was canceled. But they can put us on another flight, and we just need to confirm our credit card info.
Wait, I got a security alert from McAfee. It flagged that message as a scam.
McAfee's scam detector automatically spots and alerts you to suspicious texts, emails, and deepfake videos. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
And
all right,
beautiful.
Jill, we have time for 2 more games on your list. Which ones are you going to call out here?
Oh, no. I will peer pressure Shay into putting the full list somewhere down in the doobly-doos so people can check out. What games do I see now? I'd say I want to shout out Mosa Lina.
Oh, okay.
And
this
I
is one
wanna
I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Yes, this is a real like underdog dark horse kind of game. It is a indie developers kind of game. It plays around with the very concept of playing games. It's called a hostile interpretation of immersive sim design. I think as a person who plays games, having this is very interesting. I'm going to read the description here. It says, this game is a response to the current trend of immersive sim design, where every ability is perfectly suited to solve a specific problem in the game. In order to counter this lock-and-key philosophy, Mosa Lina is aggressively random. Does not mean that this game has procedural generation. I was like, it's not procedural gen. Procedural generation. Tools and levels are handmade and are just randomly selected and sometimes slightly modified. It's literally impossible for me to check if all levels are beatable with all combinations of tools. This is what makes it so satisfying. There is no premeditated solution for you to follow. You are forced to get creative.
Now, is this I see that it's 1 to 4 players local or 2 players online. Is this playable single player? Like, are you having a good time playing it single player?
You can play it single player, yes. It is... I'm not sure this is a game for everybody, but it is so odd and like... in the way I kind of think of it as like it's hard to kind of connect, but like the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, like little puzzles that you can solve, and you see so many people being creative with how they go about it, even though like there are some things you're obviously supposed to do. Like take that concept, but have it be like there is no obvious solution to anything about what you're supposed to be doing, and that's kind of this game. And it's such a like, I'm not sure it's for everybody, but because it's so unique and weird, I sort of gravitate towards it.
And it's spelled like Mona Lisa, but with the S and the N swapped. Mosa Lina.
Mosa Lina. You
by
have
the
to be
way,
really careful when you say it. Yeah.
That is one that, as you were talking, I actually purchased it because it looks so cool and unique, and like that description just sold me on it. Even though it almost feels like the developer is tempering it, like, hey, like not every level might be beatable, and I'm just like, that sounds cool to me.
That's a challenge. I accept it. Yeah.
So yeah, that is, and it's only $8 at full price. So I'm gonna check that out. I have a couple of plane rides coming up here. I'm gonna be diving into that, I feel like. But Jill, what is the final game that you want to shout out here? And like Jill indicated, I'll put the ones we didn't get to in some sort of list in the show notes if you open up the podcast.
So I think what I want to shout out one really quickly, which is Citizen Sleeper 2, because that's one of the like higher, like into the triple I sort of games where a lot of people are going to know it, but it came out really early in the year and it's incredible and I love it so much. I want people to go check that out. But for games that most people won't have sort of encountered, what do I want to shout out? This is so hard. Why do you make me choose just one?
I didn't. You chose like 30.
I did. I am going to shout out The Stone of Madness.
Oh, another one I've not heard of.
This is one I stumbled upon at a PAX West. It is a very particular and peculiar strategy kind of game. And it is a kind of intense strategy game as well. Basically, you are set in this like medieval 18th century Spanish monastery. And the monastery focuses on helping or aiding the mentally unwell. And you, in the beginning, start off as one of these people that are being helped, but you used to be a part of the monastery. You used to be in the monastic order, and were put here for perhaps political reasons instead of anything to do with health and help. And you slowly collect people in your party who may also have their peculiarities, but are all sort of circling around some sort of mysterious secret at the heart of what is going on with this monastery. It is a kind of stealth strategy game.
It's like turn-based?
It's not really turn-based because there's no real combat to speak of. But it is a lot of like keeping an eye out for patterns, going through and figuring out when to go, when to strike, what things to use, and trying not to get caught by the guards as you go. And it's got this very unique art style, which I am deeply in love with. It does get a little intense and a little difficult, but for me, it's one of those games that I enjoy just sitting back when I know I have an evening and just like, let's plug through, because I really am one of these, like, I loved that stealth genre and I feel like I don't get it anymore, not in the like real sit there, watch and plan sort of way. This is not a game that you can like start out stealth and then once you're found out you just slaughter everybody. Like, this is a legit stealth game that you are unraveling this really cool mystery, and they have a really interesting gameplay loop in that at the end of the day you all kind of have found a way to like tunnel into one cell together, and you have essentially action points which can like heal you or help your sanity or help get more resources, but you can't do all of it. So you have to pick and choose what is not going to be 100% for the next day. So it's really thought-provoking, and just I really like this kind of game. Again, I guess I picked 2 games that are really not going to be for all kinds of people, but if this is your kind of game, I haven't found a game like this in a while, so I was really happy to see it come to fruition.
Well, Jill, you've given us a lot of stuff to chew on. You've probably doubled my eShop wish list, and you've at least made me buy one game right here on the spot. And of course, if you are listening to this and these games sound up your alley, all of them are available on the Nintendo Switch eShop, as well as a lot of other stores for most, if not all of them. But Jill, before we wrap up here, you play indie games primarily. You run an indie website. You're on an indie podcast.
That's true.
Are there any AAA games you've played in 2025 that you have really enjoyed?
The funny thing about this, when I decided indies 100%, AAA games now become the games you can play for funsies. Like, it's such a weird swap over from like Game Informer times when it's just like, oh, I'm playing AAA for work, so I'm playing indies as like my for funsies games. I'm still working my way through Tears of the Kingdom, and that's my sort of AAA experience right now. I think there's just so many indies, Shay. There's just so many that I feel like, especially at this end of the year time, like I need to catch up with everything that's being talked about so that I know I can talk intelligently about things on wonderful podcasts such as this. So yeah, I don't actually get a lot of time to just sit back and like play. It sounds weird. I don't have a lot of time to just sit back and play games when I've got like all of these games that I've been talking about, but like to be able to sit back and just like turn off your brain and to play a game without thinking about content or putting it on
Your
anything.
Critical analysis and all that stuff. Yeah.
It's turning your brain off is so hard. I'm still kind of going through, and I still really love indie games. I think indie games are better in almost all categories. I said it.
Not that you're biased.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, for people who don't know, the Indie Informer is a nickname I got at Game Informer because they were my preferred game, and I was trying always to kind of sneak them in.
You were always the champion of indie games at Game Informer, for sure.
So, like, I've always loved this particular type, and it's been a lot of fun branching out and actually doing that 100% of the time. But yeah, like, there is not a good world that is just indies or just AAA. I think to have both of them is very important to the gaming sphere, and I do have a few that I have bookmarked that I need to check out. Ghost of Yotai being really high up on that list.
It's my game of the year. It's my favorite game of 2025 overall. It's so good and so beautiful.
It is, and I'm so excited to check it out, but after I play all my indie games, and who knows if that's ever ending.
It's a long game, so I guess we'll get your verdict on Ghost of Yotai at the end of 2027.
Yeah, knock on wood. We'll see.
But Jill, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to share your favorite indie games and hidden eShop gems of 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I always love coming on and making you buy more games.
You're so good at it. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Jill, where can people find you online?
You can go check out theindieinformer.com. That's where all my stuff ends up going. If you want to follow us on social media, it's at the Indie Informer on Blue Sky. And if you want to follow me specifically, it's at Finruin, Finruin on Blue Sky as well.
That is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of All Things Nintendo. Before we close out the show, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of the podcast. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, KC Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper 207, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek 3 Swords Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support. You are the reason I'm able to keep doing this week after week.
Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons & Dragonfruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.